What's up guys, today we're going to be finally going over all the new sniper rifle DPS numbers. So we're going to be breaking down the best 140 RPM, the best 90 RPM, then also the best 72 RPM, along with some of the exotic snipers, and also throwing in one of the linear fusion rifles just for fun. So there's going to be a lot of DPS numbers in this video, a lot of total damage output numbers also. So let's go ahead and begin and get straight into it. So first, with the new 140 RPM sniper that can come with firing line, this is something I've been looking forward to for a very long time, but we finally got it right after snipers get a huge nerf, so it's going to be kind of weird. But this sniper has a really good roll, firing line in the right perk slot, then in the left perk slot you can get clown cartridge, which I don't have a roll with both, but you can get up to 7 in the magazine plus clown cartridge, which will result in a lot of bullets you can shoot without reloading. So looking at the damage on Greg with firing line on this, it's 12,513. Then with clown cartridge on this weapon, every single time you reload, you're guaranteed to get at least 8 bullets in the magazine, all the way up to 11 as you see right here, which is a lot of bullets straight without having to reload. So let's say you start off a boss fight with 11 and shoot off one magazine. See how long that takes. All 11 shots takes 4.388 seconds, meaning DPS for one magazine with firing line will be 31,368, which actually isn't too bad for a legendary sniper rifle. And now let's look at the 2 mag DPS number for this weapon. Let's say you get really good RNG and get 2 11 magazines back to back, which is going to be very hard to actually pull off in real practice, but let's say you just get really lucky. That takes 10.561 seconds, meaning DPS falls to 26,077, which is still pretty good, as you'll see, compared to a lot of other lanes in this video. For all the total damage output numbers in this video, we will be using double sniper rifle reserves, and with this sniper we hold 27, which means a total damage output of 337,000, which is kind of on the low side, kind of expected from the 140s because they're pretty much just DPS monsters. Now moving on to the best 90 RPM in the energy slot, which is gonna be Soul Survivor with firing line. Then you can also get triple tap along with a mag increase and backup mag to get 7 in the magazine. So looking at the damage on Greg with this sniper rifle, it's 16,371 with firing line. Then with a 7 mag and triple tap, you can shoot up to 10 shots straight, which is a lot for 90 RPM. It's gonna take quite a while for one magazine. 6.04 seconds, meaning DPS over one mag is 27,104, which is already quite a bit less than the one mag of the 140. Now we look at 2 magazines where we get 10 shots, reload, then 10 shots again, which is going to be very hard to actually do. And keep in mind, all these numbers are going to be without missing in this video, so it's going to be a lot harder in real practice to actually achieve these numbers. Unless you're using Divinity, then that will make it quite a bit easier. So now shooting 14 shots took 13.831 seconds, meaning the DPS of our 2 mags falls to 23,673, which once again is quite a bit worse than the 140 2 mag DPS. The one thing that's great about triple tap on this sniper is it pulls ammo from thin air, which means if you don't miss, you'll actually have 37 total bullets, which means over 600,000 total damage output, which is very good for a sniper and pretty much anything in the game. So this sniper is really good for total damage output. Now moving on to the best 90 RPM in the kinetic slot, which is going to be Tranquility. And the main thing that changes on this sniper compared to the last is field prep versus triple tap, and also the fact that kinetics do a little bit more damage per bullet naturally. So on Greg with this sniper, we hit 17,189, which is quite a bit more, should be roughly 7% more than the energy. And one mag takes 3.987 seconds, meaning DPS is 30,179, which is actually pretty close to the 140 RPM 1 mag DPS that we tested earlier. Now over 2 magazines with field prep reload speed, which is very, very quick. That's going to take roughly 9.81 seconds, meaning DPS over 2 mags falls to 24,531, which is quite a big fall off, but still not too bad. And looking at the total damage of this weapon, we have 28, but unlike the previous 90 RPM, there's no triple tap, so that's actually 28 bullets, which means 481,000, which is still actually really good for a special weapon. Now moving on to the best 72 RPM in the game. There is no 72 RPM with firing line, but we can get one with Vorpal weapon, for example, Trophy Hunter. Then with a mag increase, triple tap, and a 5 mag, we can shoot 7 bullets straight, as you'll see, and they all hit for 19,283. So shooting off one magazine, 7 bullets, proccing triple tap twice, that's going to take 5.072 seconds, meaning DPS over 1 mag is 26,613, which is the worst 1 mag DPS we've seen so far. Now we do 2 magazines where we shoot 7, reload and shoot 7 again. See how long that takes. It's going to take quite a bit longer. At roughly 11.896 seconds, meaning DPS over 2 mags is 22,694, which is pretty bad. Almost borderline primary. This weapon also holds 22 ammo, and just like the previous triple tap weapon, if you hit all crits, that will actually be 30 total bullets, or a total damage output of 578,000, which once again is very good for a special weapon. So far, outside of the 140 RPM 1 mag DPS, none of these snipers on their own are that great, to be honest. Their DPS numbers are in like the mid 20s, so we really need to pair them all with Anarchy to make them really work. So looking at Anarchy now, what you can do is shoot 2 at an enemy, then swap it to a different weapon, and the Anarchy will still do damage while you can do damage with the other weapon you pull out. So that means the combo DPS is going to be a lot higher. So just looking at the numbers for Anarchy now, which did get nerfed with the jail changes slightly by roughly like 10%, I believe. So right here, it takes 10.444 seconds. And during that time, we do 150,000 damage, which you then divide by the time to get 14.5 thousand DPS roughly. So we add that number to all the different sniper DPS numbers. As you see, the 1 mag DPS with Anarchy on the 140 is 45,000. Then the 90 and 72 aren't too far behind, but they're quite a bit less. Then over 2 magazines, the 140 is still in the lead at 40.5 thousand. Then the 90 and 72 drop to the upper 30s. So those combo numbers aren't actually that bad, but let's see how they stack up to some of the exotics in the game. Starting off with Whisper of the Worm with the Callus, which is going to be a very good box breathing like perk. Looking at the damage on Greg, it's going to hit for 28,202. Then because this weapon has white nail on it, we'll never have to reload. And for the DPS numbers, we're going to assume that you can already have Whisper breathing proc before the boss even spawns in, which is the case for a lot of bosses in this game. So over 1 magazine, just 3 shots takes 1.585 seconds, meaning 53,000 DPS, which is very high. But at the same time, there's not going to be that many bosses that you only need 3 shots for. So looking at 2 magazines or 6 shots, that's going to take 3.987 seconds, which means the DPS falls down to 42,000, which is going to be a more realistic number for Whisper, and it won't drop too much after this. It'll stay around 40,000 throughout its entire reserves. Speaking of which, it holds 23 ammo, which means it does a total damage output of 650,000, which is by far the best thing we tested in this video so far. Now looking at DARCI, which is a 140 RPM with a box breathing like perk. Once you ADS on a target, you'll get increased damage and it will hit for 15,336, and as long as you don't look away from the enemy, the damage will stay the same. Now looking at the rate of fire of the weapon over 1 magazine or 7 shots, that takes 2.586 seconds, meaning 1 mag DPS is 41,513, which is good compared to the legendaries, but not great compared to Whisper. Now we look at 2 magazines with 1 reload, it's going to fall off quite a bit. 6.79 seconds, meaning DPS over 2 mags is 31,621, which once again is good compared to the legendaries, but not great compared to Whisper or the Anarchy combos. This weapon also holds 28 ammo, which is quite a bit for a sniper, which means the total damage output is 429,000, which once again is decent compared to just the single legendaries, but not good versus Whisper or the Anarchy combos. And finally, we got Izanagi's Burden, which got hit so hard, I almost forgot to even put in this video because it's that forgettable now. And looking at the damage on Greg, it's a hit for 68,679, which is good. But they nerfed the reload speed of Honed Edge, and no matter what reload speed increases you throw on, it will not reload quicker, which means the shooting off 2 shots takes 3.504 seconds, which means the DPS over just 2 shots is 39,200, which isn't bad, but it's gonna get a lot worse from here. So now we do it over 4 shots, it's gonna be a lot worse, as you'll see. It's gonna take 9.927 seconds, meaning DPS falls all the way down to 27,674, which is pretty bad for an exotic, period. It's bad. Then the total damage output with 6 Honed Edge times 4 shots is 412,000, which once again isn't terrible, but not necessarily great. Then just for fun, we'll also test Line in the Sand with Fire and Line and Rapid Hit for this video, because it's also a crit based weapon. Looking at the damage on Greg with Fire and Line, it hits 31,221. Now looking at the DPS over 1 magazine, shooting off 6 shots because I have backup mag on it. That takes 5.773 seconds, meaning DPS is 32,449, which is good compared to the legendary snipers, but once again, this is a power weapon compared to the special weapons. Now looking at DPS over 2 magazines, it's going to take quite a bit longer. We also have Rapid Hit on this weapon for a very quick reload speed, as you see right here. And shooting off those 12 shots takes 12.963 seconds, meaning DPS falls to 28,900, which isn't bad, but it's also a power weapon, which we have to keep in mind. This weapon also holds 19 ammo with double reserves, which means just under 600,000 damage, which is actually pretty good in its main strength. So there was a lot of numbers in this video. The 2 things that stood out to me is that Anarchy combos and Whisper the Worm were pretty much the only 2 viable options in this video. Most of the Anarchy combos were in the mid 40s for DPS over 1 magazine. Then for 2 magazines, they were still roughly at 40,000. Then Whisper the Worm, after you get to 6 shots, was in the 40,000 range also, which neither of those numbers are great, but compared to everything else in the video, they were the ones that stood out. But the thing is, there's a lot of other options in the game that are a little bit better. For example, we just went over 4th Horseman a lot this week, and 4th Horseman over 1 mag was obviously insanely high at like 160,000. Then over 2 magazines, depending on what you're doing, it was still like 60 plus thousand. Then we also have something like Wendigo in the game, which over the first magazine with Explosive Light hits upper 60,000 DPS. Then we also have all the other grenade launchers in the game, which do in the mid 40,000s for DPS also. So the point of this is that the DPS numbers in this video really aren't that great. All the snipers got hit so hard that they're almost unusable now. The only ones that are even like remotely relevant is the Anarchy combo, which relies on 2 weapons to achieve that DPS number, and also Whisper the Worm, which is going to be very consistent, especially if you pair it with something like Divinity for boss fights. So that's still going to be a good option, but it's not going to be necessarily great like we all expected because of the fact that the exotics also received all the sniper nerfs that the legendaries got. So now snipers aren't really that great for DPS. They're still going to be very safe options and have really good total damage output. Overall, I don't think any of these changes were necessary at all. I would have rather seen them buff some of the other options in the game, for example, shotguns and fusion rifles in the special slot, because now it doesn't feel like there's more options in the special slot besides sniper rifles. It more so feels like there are no good options, which isn't really a good feeling for a game in my opinion. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the sniper changes. I think they were completely uncalled for and pretty much ruined one of the best metas we've ever had. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.